Who and what you are is already awake. Who and what we are never fell asleep. The core expression of who we are is reality. Humanity is a part of the third dimensional construct or illusion. Therefore, humanity can't wake up. Humanity is a part of the manipulation designed to keep that which we are from our true knowing. I posted this on my Facebook page and I wanted to share it in this radio show. Welcome everyone. This is Kerrace, your host for Deep Truth Radio. Yes, Deep Truth Radio, here's where we explore the deeper truths of the system in which we live in, and then we look at solutions to support each and every one of us to transcend this illusory existence and be able to live here and have a joyful experience in a constant state of paradise, regardless of what is happening or transpiring around us. Because what is happening around us is a reflection of those who are still very tied in to this third dimensional illusion. The amount of chaos and insanity in this third dimensional construct is a reflection of the amount of people or consciousness that is not awake or has not come to the knowing that it is not human. It is the reality of who and what we are is consciousness. This physical vehicle, this mind-body construct is simply a vehicle in which that which you are, consciousness, can have this experience in this dimension. And so when we look at, or when we contemplate or even consider that humanity cannot wake up, it kind of takes a lot of the heat off of the human species. And it also allows us not to get caught in the overwhelm that happens when one looks at the predicament that humanity is in and identifies being asleep with humanity. It's not humanity that humanity is being manipulated. And so through that manipulation, it looks like humanity is asleep. If you do not know who and what you are as consciousness, that is reality. The reality is you are consciousness. And as a conscious being, when you come to know your core expression, your energetic signature, then you know that you are separate. You are separate from this mind-body construct. You are separate from this physical world system. You're separate from this universe that exists as an illusion and in which we operate in as consciousness operates in the context of the mind-body construct of this third dimensional construct. So I hope you know where I'm coming from here. But if we look at duality, if we can look at duality as a positive thing, that you are, who and what you are is separate from the mind-body construct. It is not one. You are separate. Consciousness that you are, the reality that you are, that exists and is having this experience through this mind-body construct is separate. It is separate from this mind-body system. The consciousness that is you is separate from this third dimensional illusion. This consciousness that is you, your core expression, your energetic signature, is separate from the universe. The consciousness that is you is a part of the overall consciousness system. And what keeps you trapped in this mind-body construct is the attachment to the five sense personality aspect of you. The attachment to this system, which is simply a thought system. A thought system. So this thought system exists because we attach ourselves, we identify with thought. And when one moves into heart consciousness, when one takes that journey, doing the inner excavation, the deeper inner work, one comes to know oneself as consciousness. And in the state of consciousness, as consciousness, in that state as consciousness, there is no thought. There is nothing. There is no thing there. You are just in, what comes to mind is the Om principle. You're just in a state of Om, in a state of bliss, in a state of nothingness. Simply in a state of nothingness in the present moment. And in that present moment, in that state of nothingness, you have the capacity to do something or not. But in that state of nothingness, nothing is required of you. You are in a state of bliss. You are in a state of peace. You are in a state of joy. And that is the experience that you get to have in the physical form if you decide to do the inner excavation work. And one comes to know, one comes to experience one's sovereignty and freedom at a whole other level. And when one comes to know self as consciousness, as expression, as consciousness, as reality, having an experience through the physical mind-body system, then one can engage the dance of the system in a way that is honoring, that is loving, that will want you to protect yourself and your loved ones, that will want to cultivate and nurture your sense of sovereignty, your sense of freedom. You will fight for your sense of sovereignty and freedom in this third dimensional construct, in the ensuing chaos and destruction, because the third dimensional construct is very quickly moving into a place, a state of insanity, because humanity is not in a position to wake up. And so we as a species, for those of us who are listening to this show, and for those of us who are on a conscious path, knowing who and what we are, just simply having this experience, can truly comprehend what it's going to take in order to cultivate and sustain our sovereignty and freedom. We will have to cultivate our sovereignty and freedom in order to sustain ourselves. We'll have to cultivate that relationship of sovereignty and freedom as consciousness, like we would a lover. We have to know that we will protect who and what we are as reality at all costs. And so when one moves into the heart, one moves into heart consciousness and begins to explore and experience self as reality, the reality as consciousness, just expressing itself through physical form, there is a real sense of knowing, a deep knowing that all is well, all in the end if there ever is any end, I don't believe that there is, that the future of humanity is certain. So I want to, or humanity, the future of the expression of humanity in physical form is certain, if we want to look at it from that context, in that we will win this, in that the core expression of who you are as reality is eternal. And in knowing that and experiencing that through physical form, you are an eternal being. And so I want to leave that with you, but what I want to also touch on in this show are a few things. I want to talk about this 2023 mem that I've noticed that's going to be coming up. Mems are words that are kind of put out there into the consciousness of humanity as a thought form in order to keep us locked in this third dimensional construct, this manipulation, this hypnotic trance state. And it's simply another tool that the power control force uses to take control of your eternal state as consciousness, as reality. That's what their goal is. Their goal is to have total control of your eternal state as reality, as consciousness. They work very hard to implement their dark, sinister program in order for them to have complete control over your eternal state. So keep that in mind. I had someone say to me, when is this all going to end? And I believe that he was referencing the craziness, the chaos and insanity that is ensuing. It's mind-blowing on this earth. And I said to him, it's never going to end. It just ends for you if you decide to vacate or leave the planet. And it also it could potentially end for you if you decide to do the deeper inner excavation work and transcend the manipulation, transcend the hypnotic trance state that keeps you locked into the illusion that all of this is real. All of what is happening on this earth plane is real. It's not. A lot of it is made up. And a lot of it is initiated by the power control force. And so our new and latest mem will be 2023. 2012 hasn't ended yet. But I've been sort of watching and waiting to see what was the next number or target point where we would be told to look at in terms of the future. If we look at 1984, we had George Orwell. His book came out in 1984, and that seemed to be a big mem in 1984. And then we had the millennium in 2000. And after that, we got to the 2000 millennium when all the computers were supposed to crash. Then we have the 2012 mem, which is, the Mayan calendar and date and the apocalypse and end times. And so it just keeps going on and on and on. And it's just these mems, these dates are simply the reasons. They're basically meant to keep us concentrated on the future specific dates, in order to keep us in a state of hypnosis, in order to keep us in that hypnotic trance state, in order to keep us in this time-space continuum, not focusing on the present moment, but being focused on a future event or a future date. So these mems, these dates will continuously be here. Now, 2012 was a very interesting mem. It was the first mem that I got caught in, bought into. And for some time was manipulated, and now that's no longer. And so because that was the first mem that I was introduced to. The 2000 millennium, it never registered with me. I wasn't engaged, didn't really know what was going on in the world when that one was happening. Wasn't really interested about what was going on outside the context of my own general peripheral life happenings and circumstances. I was not really interested in what was going on in the world when the millennium was happening. And so, yes, while I did hear it from time to time, I didn't buy into it. It just didn't suck me in. But as I started to do my research in 2007, and I could understand why the 2012 mem would be of interest to me, because it was tied to consciousness, waking up. It was tied to an ending and a beginning of an awakening. And I was going through my awakening process then. So I guess it seemed natural that I would fall into that mind manipulation. But now I can see it for what it is. And so this 2023 mem, it's not one that it's got any tentacles on me. I see it for what it is, and I want to share that with you so that you can see it for what it is too, because it's important that you come to understand these different things that I share with you so that you can do your own additional research and you can get a deeper understanding, a greater understanding from a different perspective. It's just a perspective. This is just a sharing of, and what I share is, as I like to look at how this physical world is structured from someone who is having this experience from a state of conscious expression, from a state of knowing who and what I am. And it's very interesting process to be going through, because I have no point of reference. I have to trust each and every moment that what I am experiencing and what I know to be true is authentic, is an authentic expression of who and what I am. Not a human being, but as consciousness. That the reality of who I am is a conscious expression. And that I am consciousness simply having this physical experience. I'm using this mind-body construct to have this physical experience. And so I don't have a point of reference. I don't know other people who are having the same type or similar experience as me. So I have to, and I'm welcome to meeting people who are on this path, who understand where I'm coming from. And I know that there are people out there. However, when one is kind of in a vacuum of sorts, having this experience, we don't have this is not externally reflected back to me. And so a lot of doubt comes in over the years for me. I have less doubt now because I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing is who I am, what I am. And so, and I'm able to hold that energetic construct for myself so that I can keep experiencing it. I don't fall asleep anymore. In the initial stages when I moved into heart consciousness, I would fall asleep and I'd wake up to the knowing of who and what I am. But then I would fall asleep, so I'd fall back into third dimensional reality and then I'd wake up out of it. But now I'm able to sustain and hold this for myself 24/7. And that's beautiful because I get to live in a constant state of peace and joy and sovereignty and freedom, still knowing and experiencing the reality of this system, but also being in a very, very high vibrational oscillation. And so it's just absolutely beautiful. And so if I can share through my experience with you some of the things that I see, because what happens as one awakens into the consciousness that is you, when one awakens into the core expression, into the reality that is you, you get to see the wisdom within you awakens. You are divine wisdom. And so as wisdom, you get to see things on a much deeper level. You get to see things on a higher order, a higher level than what you would if you were only experiencing self through the five sense personality aspect of you, through the ego aspect of you. So, yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful experience. And I thank you all for participating on this journey with me. So what I want to talk to you now about is there is a paradigm shift through heart consciousness that happens. And I'm just expressing that to you. And that what I really want to emphasize here is that social change will happen. Social change on this planet will happen through heart consciousness. That will be the paradigm shift that will support humanity out of this insanity. So your sovereignty and freedom is dependent upon you coming to understand who and what you are as consciousness. Waking up to the reality that is you, that is you, and that this universe, and that this physical world is an illusion and will cease to exist once enough of humanity wakes up to the core expression, to the energetic signature, to the reality of who and what it is. And so it may or may not happen in your lifetime. But what can happen in your lifetime is that you awaken to who and what you are and then continue to have this physical experience. Another thing I want to mention to you was this, I mentioned in my videos that there are major themes that will be coming out for this year. And one of the ones that I mentioned was aliens. And would be the alien invasion. So I wanted to touch on this because I want you to keep in mind that UFOs are a type of mind control illusion to convince the masses that time and space are real and that the universe is not an illusion. And so this latest movie that's come out, Prometheus, is what I would consider another propaganda flick, as most of movies that come out in mainstream are part of the propaganda or a part of the mind manipulation, the mind control program, the power control force initiates to keep humanity locked in this mind-body construct. Prometheus comes to mind as a 2012 American science film set in the late 21st century. The story centers on the crew of the spaceship Prometheus as they follow a star map discovered among the remnants of several ancient Earth cultures, led to a distant world and an advanced civilization. The crew seeks the origins of humanity. Interesting. That seems to be what we're doing here on this third dimensional construct. But instead, discovers a threat that could cause the extinction of the human race. See, they're doing a movie based on this mind manipulation. So, there's a crew on a spaceship, Prometheus. They follow a star map discovered among the remnants of several ancient Earth cultures. Yes, so historically, the power control force has remnants of several of our cultural archives, and they've kept this knowledge to themselves. And so they expose this in this movie as they follow the star map. So there's a star map discovered among the remnants of several ancient cultures, leads them to this crew to a distant world. That must be us. And an advanced civilization. Oh, that must be us too. The crew seeks the origins of humanity, as we are always doing that on this physical plane. Why are we constantly asking, or why are these questions? Where do we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? What is our purpose? We are constantly asking those questions in the third dimensional construct, and we're never getting those answers because the power control force doesn't want us to know those answers. And so we seek those answers regardless of the fact that we don't know, that the power control force is trying to manipulate us to keep us from that information. We continuously look to the external for the answers to those questions. But those answers to those questions will never come. So we look to the external, meaning they use these movies to keep us distracted on the external reflection, trying to come to grips with the answers to some of these questions. But these questions can never be answered from the external reflection. These questions can only be answered when one goes in and does the inner excavation, when one goes in and does the inner deeper work. Those questions can only be answered when one goes in and does the inner journey. So I just find this movie very interesting. Although this crew seeks the origins of humanity, they are instead discover there's a threat that could cause the extinction of the human race. Well, the only people causing the threat for the human race in terms of its extinction, or supposed extinction, because we are eternal beings, we cannot become extinct, is the power control force. And so I just can see so much into a lot of what is the storylines, the stories that are being expressed through the power control force system in this third dimensional reality or illusion reality. It's just fascinating. And so the key point here is that, because I know that I may piss some people off here and saying that UFOs are a type of mind control illusion to convince the masses that time and space are real and that this universe is not an illusion. I don't carry the genetic coding to be manipulated by light in this way. Are you with me? I don't carry the genetic coding to be manipulated by light this way. You see, light itself is the manipulation. The fact that we can see and experience this light, the light in which we can experience is this third dimensional construct, or this universe is the manipulation. Light is manipulation. And so there is this light energy that is used to manipulate humanity, believing that there are UFOs and aliens, etc., etc., etc. But I don't carry the genetic coding, and so there are many people who believe that in aliens, who believe in UFOs, or have had those experiences. I'm not going to deny that. It's just not a part of my makeup. And so if we go with the premise that we are a part of the consciousness system and that the universe is an illusion, then what we experience as reality, or what we think as reality, is really an illusion, and that the only reality that exists is you, as consciousness expressing itself through the physical mind-body system. If you are believing in, UFOs and aliens, well, it's just a way in which I believe you are coping with your existence, or not, or it's a shield. It's a way in which you're being manipulated to not really truly know who and what you are as reality, as consciousness. And I know it's just a point of view, and I know that may piss some people off, but